Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, bark like a dog for me.
Where's the goodies?
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Hey, this is Joel Hodson. I'm the creator of Mystery Science Theater 3000. You're listening to Everything Old is New Again with Douglas Viviani.
Hi, this is Walter Koenig, and you're listening to Everything Old is New Again with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Hi, this is Xander Berkeley, and you're listening to Everything Old is New Again with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Hi, this is Lee Merriweather. You're listening to Everything Old is New Again with Doug Viviani and David Cohen. They are great guys.
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. It's nice to have that compliment from Lee Merriweather, and it's great to have Erin Gray on our show. All of those individuals have something in common with Everything Old is New Again and Erin Gray, and I wanted to just sort of roll the dice here and talk a little bit about what that would be. Maybe you could tell us, what's the common denominator of all of us together?
They're not only my clients, but dear friends. They're all under the banner of Heroes for Hire.
And friends of this show, and we've had a wonderful time with them, making great fun radio as we're doing together with Erin Gray from Buck Rogers and Silver Spoons and more. And I wanted to talk about Heroes for Hire on the level of, well, first, maybe rather than have me explain it, you could explain what it is, and we can dive into a little bit about entrepreneurship, if you don't mind.
Okay. Heroes for Hire is a personal appearance agency. So we book celebrities and we specialize in the convention comic book world, which has really expanded. I originally had thought of it as being a speaker bureau. So we do some speaking engagements, but we sort of went down the path of the Comic Cons because they kept starting to grow and there was such a demand when I started my company. Leave me with a question, sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you go online and take a look at Heroes for Hire, I'm not sure off the top of my head the website. I should have prepared. But
heroesforhire.us.
There we go. Thank you so much. You will see a list of bunch of stars and people that you know, and then you can click in and see what they've done and so forth. And then eventually they will appear at a neighborhood near you, if you will, in your at a local convention.
Hopefully.
Once we get through this time, exactly.
Pandemic,
exactly.
Yes.
Get through all of this and sign autographs and get to meet these people, and it's so much fun to do so, even if you just brush with these individuals for the 30 seconds to 1 minute, whatever it might be, and some spend much more time with you, and just to hear or have them answer maybe one question of yours, or just see what they're like, and have some fun with your kids to go and meet 4 or 5 people that they might share with you together, watching Me TV or current projects like whatever it might be. I was going to say like Walking Dead. You probably don't
Legends of Tomorrow.
There you go, Legend of Tomorrow,
Supergirl, or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's a great family. I think it's just a fun family activity to do, and just for kicks have a little bit of a fun with it. So it's perfect. And I think I've seen this coming for years, and I thought it was a great idea that you did as an entrepreneur. At some point, you had to, and I'm assuming, come up with an idea. Wait a minute, might be a good idea to organize people that might want to have of like mind, so that there's one source for these conventioneers, or convention people that are holding conventions, to call and book a bunch of guests at once, and let's see if we can keep what's old new again, if that makes sense. And I say that respectfully in terms of old. Is that something you were thinking about? Or what was the genesis of this corporation and this idea?
Well, quite honestly, there's nothing like a divorce, and finding out that you're a business manager and had absconded with money, or finding yourself in a difficult situation, let's put it that way, and coming to the realization, although I knew I was smart, I hadn't finished college, and I had done nothing more than dance, model, and act. And trying to get a job was something that I needed to do. because you can't always expect to have an acting job. It's not all, one thing about being an actor, you're always unemployed. As soon as you have the job, you're unemployed. And you're constantly looking for that next job. And which sort of filled my entrepreneurial spirit. But when you have a child and you want to keep them in private school, or you have a home that you want to keep, or whatever, and you find out that after 20 years of being successful, you don't have any money, and you're wow, it was a wake-up call. So I went through a period of time where I went to employment agencies literally and said, I'm smart, I can do things, and they just looked at me like, we don't know what to do with you. It's like it was a very dark time for me. And that's when that psychic thing where my mom popped up and saying, don't worry, you'll be fine, you'll work it out. But, and it was that time period. So it actually started with Barbara Luna. And Barbara Luna called me and she said, Erin, I want you to go to this convention in Burbank, and you're going to bring 600 pictures, and you're going to call me back later, and you're going to say thank you. Okay, Barbara. So I went to my first convention, and I remember pulling up in the parking lot and seeing this convention building with a line around the building. And I thought, wow, this is cool. And I go to the promoter and introduce myself. And I said, where do I go and what do I do? And I said, by the way, who are all those people for? And he said, you. And I went, excuse me? All those people see me? I had no idea how successful Buck Rogers was with the fandom world. Not a clue. Before the internet, we didn't have computers. I'm pretty much a mom. I don't know what the rest of the world is thinking or doing and so on. And, yes, I'd been successful in Silver Spoons, but, we'd gone through a writer's strike. That was another thing that depleted the funds. And who thought that the writer's strike would last for a year? So, you try to pay the bills and say, we'll get out of this strike next month. And a year later, the whole landscape, much like this pandemic, all of Hollywood changed. So I go to this, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the fans, and a couple coming up to me and said, we got married as Buck and Wilma, and we have our uniforms. I'm like, okay, great, that's nice. Or I'd get somebody coming up and saying, you're the reason I'm a fighter pilot for the Marines. I'm like, right. A woman, by the way. Yeah. And I'm going, really? I inspired you? Or, I had one Israeli woman come up to me, greatest markswoman in the world. She was a fighter pilot for the Israeli army. She says, you inspired me. Or I'd have women coming up saying, I became a cop because of you. And I'm like, a cop? Okay, great. Because I portrayed a strong woman. And I didn't realize at the time of doing Buck Rogers that role was that inspiring. I had no clue. I don't know what it is. I knew women were capable. I had a single mom who was capable and strong, and so it didn't dawn on me that we weren't, and suddenly or that it didn't really dawn on me that there weren't female commanders. That's where the ignorance part comes from. It's like I didn't understand that women were still fighting for their rights in a certain way, and to be heard and to be paid and to have jobs that men have and so on and so forth. So it was a very eye-opening experience. And I looked around and I started asking questions, and this was about 91. And I got married shortly thereafter, and my current husband is a techie, and he gave me a computer and said, honey, you will always know where your money is. And here's a computer. So you're attached to all your accounts, and go for it, girl. And I started my company researching, and I am somewhat fearless in that I'm willing to knock on any door and talk to anybody. And so I just started calling for promoters, and then I started realizing that, hey guys, you're not very organized. And I know actors, and actors like to have call sheets, and actors like to know where they're going, and they want to have emergency numbers, and they need to have contracts, and they need to understand what this is all about. So tell you what, let's create agreements. Let's have an agreement. Let me just bullet point what you're going to do and what the actor's going to do. And what happened was I first started booking myself, And then one day, Gil Gerard called me up and he said, so Erin, what are you doing this weekend? I said, well, I'm going to Cincinnati to a Star Trek convention. He says, really? Well, I want to go. And I said, well, if they want me, they're going to want you. So I'll call the promoter and, and see if he wants you. And he said, yeah, and I'll pay you 10%. And that was really the first time that I thought of it as a business, because I was just doing it for myself. And I said, yeah, well, you don't have to pay me 10%. I'm a friend. I'm just going to make a phone call. He said, no. I'm going to make you work for it.
We're going to have to stop here for a moment, but we will be back right after this with Erin Gray to continue talking Heroes for Hire and more.
Silver spoons together.
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Yes, we are back here on Everything Old is New Again with Erin Gray from Buck Rogers, Silver Spoons, and more. Continuing a discussion about how she started Heroes for Hire, a little influenced by Gil Gerard. Good for him.
And he did.
Yeah.
But he planted the seed. And what was really funny is that he then went to play golf with Mark Singer. And I had done a movie with Mark Singer's sister, Lori Singer. And Mark calls me up and he goes, so Erin, these conventions, they sound like fun. I want to do it. And I went, okay, well, it's 10%. And that's where it sort of started. And then I had to be organized. I had to have agreements. I had to have call sheets, basically. And I looked at it as what you would do for a production company and proceeded that way. And I found myself, occasionally I would say to the promoter, you give me an agreement. So I'd read his agreement going, this agreement from this guy is better than this guy's agreement. So I'm going to just add and I just started making my own agreements. And then over a course of a number of years with different actors, the actor would say, well, my attorney has to read the agreement. I said, oh, great. Have your attorney read it. So then I get all of his notes. Oh, I like his notes. I don't like that note. But I started building my own agreements, to just doing it. Just why not? I figured I would just follow my gut as to what felt right. And on that point, I just want to say something to you about your daughters. You say you have two daughters?
I have one daughter and one son, actually, 11 and 8. My daughter's 11.
The one thing that I have found to be the most powerful thing about having confidence is learning to respect yourself. If you walk in integrity, if you always do the best you can, now you may make mistakes, and you may not have all the information and make the wrong choice or whatever, but if you always walk that path of kindness and respect of whoever you're dealing with, and respect to yourself as well, you will create that confidence, and no one can ever take that away from you. I had a situation as a child where I was outcasted by society. It's something that I'm going to write about in my memoirs. And it was so humiliating to be bullied and outcast by my fellow students, their mothers, be thrown out of Girl Scouts. It was a horrible thing when you're 9, 10, 11 years old. I know what that's like. And the only thing that I could hold truth to myself is I know I'm a good person. And I may have to be alone right now, and I may not have any friends, but I'm going to continue to make the best choices I can. And you stumble along the way. There's a lot of temptations, things that happen in life that can pull you off the path. But the idea is to always come back to the path. And that concept of alignment is what I teach in my Tai Chi class. Everything in Tai Chi is a metaphor for life. So always walk in alignment with right action with an open heart.
And I will tell you, that does speak to me because we just recently had a discussion, not to open the doors, but the idea is that, she's let's put it this way, 11-year-old girl, I think, at least in her circle, is struggling in one way or another with this.
Yes.
It's self-identity, it's confidence, it's picking on this one as being too sensitive about that one said. It's lots of stuff going on. And
especially with social media. Ugh.
Absolutely. And also physically, too, that, when certain things happen, that affects these girls at this age as well. And so what you say, I will represent to her, and she will listen to the show. She loves the show, as everybody does. But she will listen to your words because it is important. It is something that I try and my wife tries to instill, and it's exactly what you said. I said, you can't control what these other people are doing and saying, what have you. You can control when you walk into school that you're happy inside of yourself and who you are and the way that you interact with people. You're happy with at least the way you interacted with them. How they act to you in response is probably going to be positive, but if not, it's okay because you did the best you could and you were the best person that you could be. And but it sounds simple. But boy, is it an important message, and it's hard to do, you know.
It's a hard one, it really is. But truly, I think the gifts will come to you if you. I know they have for me. I know that I know who I am, and I unfortunately I do deal with a lot of people who are deceptive and in my opinion can be evil. And nothing that I hate more than having to deal with people who lie and cheat. And unfortunately, in the business that I am, it happens. And I'm dealing with a lawsuit right now that is just infuriating me. And I have to first let go. I know I did right. I have to fight the fight as best as I can, but I have to let go and know that in the long run, that's not important. And at some point, I may have to stop fighting because I have to consider my health, mentally, emotionally. And sometimes it's best to just snip it, move away, and get the toxic people out of your life.
Yeah, I'm an attorney too, and I would just suggest that what I tell my clients is, believe it or not, is, but this is the thing, and it's hard to do. But sometimes you run across the lawsuit or the thing that's going on, and you keep on thinking about it for some reason or another in your mind, and it's hard to put it in the drawer and say, I've thought about this, it's done. For today, I'm putting it in the drawer. With respect, and I'm not just what I tell my clients, you get that the old school diary. Write down your thoughts for the day about that lawsuit, about whatever it is. Once you've closed that book, it's there, and you can put that in the drawer, and at least psychologically for an hour or two or the rest of the day, put it aside. Say, I've dealt with that today. Now I can move on. I'll deal with the rest of it tomorrow. Because lawsuits are one day at a time, and they're not going to be very quick. Does that make sense?
I'm dealing with one in Dubai. But thank you for reminding me about the writing, because I've been told that many times through different therapists and whatever, that, write those thoughts down. Because otherwise, I spend all night long dreaming about it, thinking about it, and that's not healthy.
Right. And once you've put it down, you can at least say, and sometimes it's for the week, but at least for the day, say, all right, I've done my thinking about that. It's all there. Right. Let me move on for the day anyway, and maybe, tomorrow I'll think about another idea and I'll put that down there, but all of that leads to, to the self-confidence to, as you said, to have the ability to do. I mean, you were saying something about how, financially what have you. That's, by the way, same thing happened to Billy Joel and many, many other people.
I know.
So you shouldn't kick yourself. But the other idea is,
I know.
I can sense that, but it happens. But the idea is necessity is the mother of invention. Look what came out of that difficult time, this beautiful company that I think is terrific, that does a terrific, function.
We last through the pandemic,
that's the next
tough.
thing.
I
Exactly.
tell you that it's really tough right now.
They're doing these conventions. I think you know this. I think you're part of it, where they're doing them virtually, and you can have a virtual event with, and even have a virtual signature or 30 seconds or a minute with Shatner or whoever.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, so that's it's again creating new things. But boy, are we looking forward to getting back to being over the table and saying hello. Maybe not shaking hands anymore or whatever, but at least saying hello and eye to eye with your I hesitate to say heroes, but with the people that you.
Your heroes. Your heroes.
Too much of a pun, but okay.
Okay.
This is exactly right, and it's really important and fun. Let me just play a clip here real quick, and we'll move on for a couple of seconds. You were on the Tonight Show with some of my heroes. Let's talk about that for a moment.
But that is true. She's very lovely, most talented. This is her third year as co-star on Silver Spoons, which is on this network, Sundays at 7 p.m. Would you welcome Erin Gray? And I won't act. Why are you nervous?
I always do. No matter what I do, every Friday night before the show, and they say, ready, roll 'em, let's go.
You get nervous?
Always.
But that's good, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to do it unless you were nervous.
I sometimes wonder, though, whether or not I should be more public. What do you think? Do you think a person should go out and...
I do not think, if you're thinking about, you mean your career?
If career-wise.
No, I do not think that attending a, quote, Hollywood party or going to a film opening...
Make any difference?
Makes absolutely any difference whatsoever.
Good.
There we go. You're back here on Everything Old is New again, listening to Erin Gray on The Tonight Show with, of course, Johnny Carson and And I just thought that was so interesting, and Bob Newhart to be in that circle. What was your experience, with the Tonight Show and actually presenting it? I enjoyed that, a philosophical kind of question, or at least a real question back to Johnny Carson instead of just answering his questions. Did it go over well or no?
I have to do that. I have a tendency to do that. First of all, I love Johnny. I've been interviewed by a lot of different talk show hosts, and Johnny was definitely my favorite because I felt that with some comedians who are hosts, sometimes you're the butt of the joke, and I never felt that Johnny ever did anything that felt bullying in any way, or because I'm very sensitive. But he did make one joke that I never forgot. So he said, "So tell me what, you silver spoon. So you started out as a secretary, and then you got married, and then now you're the CEO of the company?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "So basically you slept your way to the top." And I went, "Oh, I guess you could think of it more." But I always thought it was funny. I didn't take it personally or whatever. It was interesting. Bob Newhart, I always felt it was odd that, you'd have these other guests here, but you're directed looking only at Johnny. So I kind of wanted to open things up to include Bob. And I remember turning to include him, and he was sort of asleep, a little bit of nodding off here, and was like, "What? Yeah, yeah, sure, no." He wasn't. So I felt, oh, maybe that wasn't a good idea. And but yeah, interesting that you pointed out that I would say, because I was part of what I was dealing with is I wasn't a party person. I was more concerned about raising my family and being a wife. I love being a wife. I love cooking. I love cleaning. My present husband is like, when you die, there's going to be a vacuum over the headstone because she's only happy if she's vacuuming, I think I read recently Stanley Tucci also. It's like he thinks he should have a vacuum strapped to his back all the time. I don't know. It's just calming for me to clean, but I enjoy that. And I experienced a lot of partying when I was younger. That's not where I wanted to be. And I don't need to go to the Emmys. I don't need to go to this, so I was really asking the question because I really wanted to know, do you think it's important for one's career to do that? Just like one of the questions I would ask now, do you think it's important to have social media?
Oh, these segments are going so fast. The conversation's fast and furious and interesting and exciting. And I'll tell you what, we're having a great time here with Erin Gray from Buck Rogers, Silver Spoons, and so much more. We'll be back right after this. And everything old is new again.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show. With Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Well, Erin Gray of Buck Rogers will be the donkey, and Willie Ames will lead off for ABC.
Be nice, Willie. Be nice. We are losers.
Don't do it. Well, ABC now has 3 points. They need this event almost desperately.
Oh, boy, that's a little blast in the past there. The Battle of the Network stars. We're back here, and everything old is new again with Erin Gray. I guess we were just finishing off there talking a little bit about social media.
I'm not on social media. I've tried a couple of times. It's just not a platform that I'm really comfortable with. I think maybe all the bullying and the ostracizing that I had dealt with as a child, I never wanted to experience again, and I don't feel people are very nice out there. All this emotion that they're throwing out and causing such fear for people to be afraid to say something or to have a good discussion. I want to discuss ideas.
I agree with you. Like, here's the thing. I don't mind that you disagree with me. I don't care what the topic is. Let's just say Star Trek. I love Star Trek. You don't. I know you do too, but let's just say you don't like Star Trek. Let's just take a counterpoint.
Let's go from there. Yeah.
But at least let's talk about. First of all, let's agree that you don't like it. Let's be honest about that, so you don't lie to me. To begin in some way, and to spare my feelings. I don't care. The feelings are totally irrelevant at this point. I want to have a conversation about out there. So now you tell me why you don't like it. Well, I don't like the acting, or I don't like the stories, or what specifically. Then we can have a nice conversation respectfully about the acting. What are you talking about?
And learn from each other.
Exactly, an exchange of ideas. And not to get too, but in this world today, especially with the social media, maybe because of it, because some people are in the basement, as the typical stereotype, right, in the basement in their pajamas, whatever. Right. But they're anonymous, and they don't want to listen to the other person's point of view because it offends them. And I think we shouldn't be offended by other points of view. We should be encouraged by it. If you don't like someone's idea, the best defense or the best offense even against that idea is your own or any other idea that you think is better than that idea, and then spread that word, not all be in one little corner of the room and just say, I'm listening to myself and no one else, or my group and no one else, you know? Right. So I agree with you 100%. I also think it's important to recognize that when you're doing your entrepreneurship, you have other people in your company. We have other people on the show behind the scenes. Long story short is when you're sharing your ideas, you can get more out of it. I'm going to make this really quick. I was at a convention or an event once. They gave you a paper clip. They said, okay, you're by yourself. Write down the uses of this paper clip in 1 minute, how many you could figure out. So maybe I wrote down 10. And then they said, okay, now get together with the 3 people around you. So there's 4 of you together. Do not reuse any of your first batch of ideas. Come up with ideas in the next minute. Maybe it was 5 minutes, I forget, but whatever. Next period of time, as to what you can use this paperclip for. Don't you know we came up with like maybe 40 or 50 brand new ideas, because expressing the ideas together.
I just got chills.
There you go. Thank you. Sharing this stuff together and a meeting of the minds is important and comes up with better ideas than you sitting in the room alone and thinking my ideas are the only ideas. Does that make sense?
Right. Absolutely. And how exciting it is to be able to discover those 30 other ideas. I hadn't thought of that. I call those aha moments. Oh, wonderful. I want to fill my life with aha moments. I was on a talk show recently, and I said to the person who was interviewing me, I said, what do you want out of my memoirs? And she said, aha moments. And I went, that's it.
Because
that's what's going to drive me as I write my memoirs, those aha moments that I live for.
Exactly. And then the person reading your aha moment, possibly like, with this paperclip thing, you think of their use and you go, that builds into another thought to you to use it. By the way, that just reminds me of this other use we could do, or other ideas,
Other ideas. And there's so many different ways of doing things. I don't know why it's coming up in my mind now, but I'm just going to head in that direction. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day, and she was a model in New York, and I was talking about how, when I first arrived in New York and I wanted to get bookings, I figured out, well, if I did 10 auditions and I got 1 job out of those 10 auditions, if I do 100 auditions, I'll have 10 jobs. Okay, so how do I do more auditions in a shorter period of time? And then I said, so my roommate and I, we met this cab driver who turned out to be a cop from Brooklyn who was working part-time, and we ended up pooling the money we would have spent on taxi cabs all day to hiring this cop to take us. So he would drop me off, and then he'd drive, and he'd drop Darby off, and then he'd come and pick me back up, and then he'd take me to my next one, and then he'd go to Darby and whatever. And she looked at me and she said, you did what? She said, God, the agency would call me up and give me 2 auditions, and I was lucky if I showed up to 1. Totally different mindset into how she tackled her career and how now maybe I worked too hard, but I don't know. I thought it was great because, first of all, he was a cop. We felt really safe, and he could park anywhere in New York.
Right.
So great. We optimize our time incredibly. We got those 100 auditions in 1 day instead of just the 2 my agency. And furthermore, my agency didn't know what to do with me. And they say, because I'd go to an audition what I literally did is I opened up the Yellow Pages and I called all the photographers and booked my own meeting with them, my own go-see. And then they would say, doesn't Eileen normally well, sure, I'll meet with you. So I didn't wait for my agency to do it. And of course, not knowing that wasn't the protocol. So there's pluses and minuses to that, because the negative side of that is the bookers never worried about me. consequently, they didn't work for me in a sense of getting me at Harper's Bazaar or Glamour. Oh, Erin, she'll take care of herself. And I did. So there was good and bad, but still, it was just, I thought it was interesting that she never thought beyond just waiting for the phone to ring.
Right, thinking outside the box, and that's what makes you a great entrepreneur and a great guest. And let me just, my dad would be, how do I say this? Someone would be remiss if I didn't play this, because there's a payback on this. This is funny. You'll get a kick out of this. But this is a commercial you did in '86. I'll relate it in a moment as to what I'm talking about.
Smart investors know it pays to be patient. If you waited until after Christmas for Bloomingdale's Smart Money first sale, you could be wrapped in sumptuous savings from the Northern Lights. The Smart Money is investing now at the Northern Lights First Salon at Bloomingdale's. It's like no other store in the world.
Now, my dad loves your work and so forth, don't get me wrong, but here's the problem. Back in 1986, my mom saw and was enthralled with that commercial, of course, as so many people were, and wanted what you were selling, the coats and so forth from Bloomingdale's. Yeah. So Dad had to play Santa that year and purchase that.
Buy that coat, huh?
Even though it was on sale, it was still expensive. So he still hurts a little bit to this day. When I told him you were coming on the show, he said, "Remind her that I had to buy that coat because of that crazy commercial." So all those years back.
That ended up being my star, I guess, my supermodel status in New York. There are superstars who do the glamour magazines, and I did some in the Harper's and whatever, but I rose to being one of the top commercial actresses in New York and became famous in New York for being Miss Bloomingdale's.
Right.
And I remember walking down the street and having some little old lady going, "Slightly irregular? You call this slightly irregular? Let me tell you something." And I'm like, "Honey, I just do the commercials. I'm sorry, you're not happy, But I would also walk down the street and I'd get truck drivers going, "Hey, Ms. B, good seeing you, darling. You're looking good," which is, that lovely New York spirit that you get, which I loved about New York. You say it to your face.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah. And strangely enough, or one of the things that allowed me to move back to Los Angeles was the Bloomingdale's contract, which allowed me to financially be able to go under contract and make no money. Universal and star in their series with no money. I made less than the janitor. It's embarrassing that I allowed myself to get bamboozled into that situation. But Bloomingdale's paid for my being on Buck Rogers. So,
well, we could thank Bloomingdale's for something there. Then we have one more segment left with Erin Rogers. Come on back. Everything old is new again.
You could be wrapped in sumptuous savings from the Northern Lights. The Smart Money is investing now at the Northern Lights First Salon at Bloomingdale's. It's like no other store in the world.
Barbecue guy here with fondue guy. We're having a nice little barbecue here. Beginning of the summer. We got the pork loin. What do you think here, fondue?
Well, thank you for inviting me, but I'm not big on pork loin. Do you have anything else, perhaps?
I'll tell you, I got this jar, this spiked cherries. They're bowls of fire, and also got the original kind from HowieSpiked.com. I'm going to use the au jus that's in there and pour it as a nice marination over the pork loin. We put the jar down here. You could try a cherry if you want. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, let me try one of those cherries, because it might be the only thing I can eat here today. Let's see. Right out of the jar. I like these.
Ah, nice to see. I'm glad you see that. Glad you have it. You can eat it right out of the jar if you like. 10% alcohol. HowieSpiked.com. That's the 2 S's. HowieSpiked.com. All right. Fondue, I need the jar back. I got to use some more au jus on the steak here.
One check.
I need the jar.
Almost done.
HowieSpiked.com.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Attention alien spacecraft, do you read?
What are you calling alien? You don't look so familiar yourself, you know. Who are you?
Please restrict your answers to yes and no. You are in grave danger.
From who? You?
You are traversing a narrow corridor into our inner cities.
Inner what? Look, lady.
Colonel Deering, now please be quiet. If you deviate from my orders by so much as 1,000 yards, you will be burned into vapors. Do you understand?
Vapors? Yeah, I understand. What do I do?
Welcome back to Everything Old is New Again. Douglas Viviani with Erin Gray of Buck Rogers. There you go. And just with finishing up here, but just with respect to Buck Rogers, you had said something, and I wanted to just double back on this with respect to the people that you had seen at conventions and how you had influenced them and so forth, especially it seemed to be young ladies and or females in general. And the idea is, I think because of that, first of all, that role gave them, remember, we all should remember listening, it was, late 70s, 79, an affirmation that it's okay to be someone that's in charge and have some power as a female. Do you know what I mean? Like well,
it was interesting for me because inside of me was two people, one that was fearless and one that was living in a domestic violence situation at home. So my husband suffered from PTSD severely. And my girlfriend once came over and she said, Erin, I don't know you in your own home. When you and I go on a power hike up the mountains, you tell it like it is. You're abroad. You just, you're honest, you're out, you're forceful. She said, when I see you at home, you're a geisha girl. And what was interesting for me to play Buck Rogers was, I describe it as putting on the cloak of strength. And what does it mean to be a commander and to be centered? And I had to think about, how does a commander stand? How does a commander respond to somebody who is being an ass? Whatever.
Right.
How I don't do that in my own life in a way. It's an interesting combination of, yes, there was strength in me on one hand that would leak out in terms of being an entrepreneur and hiring the cab driver or whatever, but there was another part of me that, because of the abuse, not only in my own home as a child, but also with the abuse as a child in my schooling situation, that when I get around a bully, I crumble. And I fall apart. And there's a part in somebody who's dealt with abuse, it's called muted senses, where you shut down. You're no longer there, because if you felt, it would be much too painful to deal with. So I had to learn to be a commander. And it was kind of cool. It was a great place, in a sense, to learn how to speak up and how does that feel and where does that come from in your body and so on. So it was my training ground to a certain extent.
Well, it's interesting because, I say this sometimes, and I look back at the movie The Verdict just for a moment, and Paul Newman says, act as if you have faith and you will have faith. I had my struggles as a child. At seventh grade, had a young lady come to me in school, and I was trying to be nice or what have you, but I was not feeling myself, and I wasn't myself. She gave me a penny and said, "Here's a penny. Buy yourself a personality." At ninth grade, that was devastating. But
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm right with you. I had a few of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I look back at that. I could have crumbled, as you say, and I totally understand. Another reaction, my reaction was fine. You want me to be myself? I'm going to be myself. And from that point on, I was the funny guy, the gregarious guy, whatever, the person that I am. And don't you know, like in college, don't you know that same girl I was not girlfriends with, but I wasn't even friendly with, but don't you know that first year in college, I get a package in the mail, and it's a package of cookies from her, and we were, friendly enough, and so it turned around where I acknowledged that was very cruel, but it was very necessary because I wasn't me. I was this bland person trying to be something I wasn't, and she somehow
likable. Yeah.
Either she knew that or it was just a mistake, but in whatever world it was, I said to myself, you know what, I got to snap out of this because it's not doing me any good being this bland person. I'm getting this bad reaction. If I'm going to get a bad reaction, I might as well get a bad reaction as who I am.
Right. Interesting. Well, there's a definite truth to that. I think definitely dealing with what I dealt with as a child made me stronger. There's a part of me that became fearless in a sense, and yet,
Well, Well, in some way, you had to be fearless too to slap Don Ho. We'll just leave it at that.
That was just an automatic reaction.
Well, you did it twice.
I didn't know where it came from. It was just like, what are you doing, buddy?
Twice, no less. I don't blame you. And finally, I just wanted to say, with respect to that, with Buck Rogers, I thought it was a good move, and I know this wasn't planned out and whatever, but not to have your character fall in love, although there was a little implication there, but and have a love story, because it would have watered down, I think, your character and your character's ability to do what needed to be done in situations. So I just wanted to throw that out there and say I thought that was a good move.
I agree. I only wish that she hadn't lost her strength in the second year.
Yes. And I think she lost her strength. Yeah, and they brought in this other character, which was an interesting character, but sort of focus on that instead of your character. And there's lots of things that could have been done. Yeah. I hear that George Clooney is taking over and trying to now reinvent and reboot this. Let's hope he does and has, like they've done with other reboots, have you come back in some capacity. And boy, wouldn't that be fun to see you.
That would be fun, definitely. Yeah. And I hope they do. It's a wonderful franchise, and it needs to be reborn.
It really does. And speaking
I think George has the right kind of humor. I don't know if he's going to play Buck Rogers, but I think he has that kind of that would work very well. I want Charlize Theron to play Colonel Wilma.
I agree. That would be great casting. I think it would be terrific. I don't know if they're going to do movie. I don't know if they're going to do TV series. There's legalities going on and all of this. Yeah. But it's I just mentioned it because it was recently in the news, and it is something that again, everything old is new again. I mean, that comic is from the 1930s, and then it was TV, and then there was your TV incarnation, and then now there were books, and now possibly revisiting again. Do you believe, and I guess we'll just leave on this, that there is some truth to the fact that everything old is new again in one form or another with respect to entertainment, or all of the world, but the point we're pop culture, so we're looking at, Buck Rogers was something in the past and can be something in the future, but let's not forget the past and just build upon it in a nice way.
Yeah. Well, my mother used to say, Erin, if it's out of style, if it's in style now, and then it's going to go out of style, it'll be back again. Just keep that sweater. Trust me. In 20 years, it'll be in style again. So, and there's also that thought that there are only, 12 stories, just retold in different ways. So, yeah, what's old is new again. Human beings don't change. The dramas between human beings don't change. We can change the background on the equipment and things like that, but no.
All right, that's a terrific way to end up, because you know what? We've had a terrific time with Erin Gray on Everything Old is New Again, talking all things pop culture, Tai Chi, life, entrepreneurship, confidence, and more. And we've had a terrific time. I think we've made some fun radio, and I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for being on Everything Old is New Again.
Well, thank you, Doug. It's really been a pleasure talking with you. I really enjoyed my time. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my passion in Tai Chi, if nothing else.
It's our absolute pleasure. We had a great time with Erin Gray here on Everything Old is New Again. Next week, we will have some more fun, thrills, and adventure and discussion of all things pop culture. Come on back to Everything Old is New Again.
A lone astronaut, Captain William Buck Rogers, was to experience cosmic forces beyond all comprehension.
Barbecue guy here with Fondue guy from Everything Old is New Again. Listen, Fondue, how you making out over there, kid?
I've been well. How about yourself?
Well, we don't get along. I talk about a lot of things. We try to get along. We try to do what we can, but we don't too much. I think we may agree about something. I got something in mind for you. What do you think?
Oh, sure. What do you have in mind?
Howie's Spiked Cherries. Howie's Spiked Cherries. Have you heard of such a thing?
I have not, but I'm intrigued.
Original flavor, bowls of fire. I'm making Jell-O shots with these babies. They're tremendous.
So they're cherries infused in alcohol?
That's correct. And that's right up my alley. I got news for you. 10% infusion, if you will, of alcohol. Believe me, you want some of this stuff. Put it in a whiskey sour, put it in a vodka gimlet, do whatever you like. Why don't you take a try, man?
Well, I'm generally open-minded. I'll indulge. Sure, let me try.
Get to it, Fondo. Get to it.
Right out of the jar. Let me get my sterilized fork.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
He's taking a long time, this poor kid, but he loves him. Look at that face. It's a big smile. I've never seen a guy smile in my life. Look at the guy.
Barbecue guy, I think we can finally agree on something. These are delicious.
How about that? Where do you get them from? That's the question. Your local grocery, or you want to go to the website? Go to the website, howiespiked.com. That's howiespiked.com. They'll tell you where you can get them, or you can order them. By the way, you get 22 cherries for every jar. That's howiespiked.com. David Cohen, I'm looking for gift cards. I'm looking for something to give, family members, friends, something you could send. You're not going to be around people all that often. I thought of something called Personal Chef to Go. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it, Doug, believe it or not. I get it all the time, man.
What do you get?
Well, they're professional chefs, and they create these fully prepared, fresh, restaurant-quality meals at a fraction of the cost of eating out. And their meals are much healthier for you with less fat, salt, and sugar. And they ship fresh, never frozen meals nationwide, express, safely to your doorstep, and shipping is always free.
Man, that's unbelievable. Rotating menu you could choose from. Get on that website, personalcheftogo.com, personalcheftogo.com. You can call them at 877-233-4208. And by the way, you want to save 20%? Chef20. That's the code, Chef20. Save 20% off at personalcheftogo.com. personalcheftogo.com. You've been listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's pop culture entertainment talk show. Find us on the web at everythingoldisnewagain.biz. That's .biz.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.